As we say in New Mexico, may God grant you good days. We also say, Buenos dias, le de Dios. My name is Lawrence, and I'm an alcoholic. Truly grateful to be here, grateful to be sober, and great to be a part of an organization that is bigger than me. And being here at the International, I get to celebrate life and sobriety with a lot of people who love Alcoholics Anonymous as I do, and for that I'm grateful. I'd like to thank the committee for allowing me to come and share my experience, strength, and hope. And this morning I'd like to just acknowledge the most important people in these rooms are the newcomers. And we want to welcome you. So I'm here to talk about emotional sobriety. And for a crazy guy who made it to Alcoholics Anonymous through the way of a mental institution, I didn't have a clue about emotional sobriety. I'm from northern New Mexico, and I had my first drink at the age of 12. And when I took that first drink, by the time I did, I was pretty disturbed. And I loved what alcohol did for me from that first drink. And I went back every time to try to get that feeling and that effect. Despite the consequences. But I've come to the realization early on, as I came into Alcoholics Anonymous at the age of 22, that without a doubt that I have lost the ability to control my drinking. Once I start, I cannot stop. Period. And sobriety began. And for me, it got worse before it got better, because at a year sober, I tried to kill myself. And I was put in a mental institution. And I thought just getting sober was enough. So I'm locked up in a mental institution, and I'm thinking, I didn't drink, but how do you flunk Alcoholics Anonymous? Well, the judge thought that I needed a little more extra help. And I like what it talks about in the doctor's opinion. And I understand the physical part about leaving the physical out. That what makes me an alcoholic. But there's a lot of things that I suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders. I was maladjusted to life, and I felt that I was broken. I didn't feel like it was more than just not fitting in. I just felt that I was broken and that there was no hope, even in sobriety, being in that mental institution. It was there that I seen my way out was the 12 steps. The God debate, my defiance, me not working the steps, not working with the sponsor, that it didn't work. How's it working, Lawrence? It's not working. And that just not drinking was not good enough for me. And the suicide attempt, and my certificate from the state hospital, mental institution for, certificate of completion was my reminder of how things work out my way. But as the book says, that honesty and emotional sobriety to me began with my second step, where I came to believe in a power greater than myself. And I have a story that it wasn't that I didn't believe in God, I didn't feel worthy of God. And when I was a child, I had an experience where I was around a lot of violence, and I ran into the restroom, and I was praying at age 7 years old, praying to God, this God that I thought I knew, to stop this violence that was going on. And I prayed, and I didn't think God was listening to me. So I started praying in Spanish to say maybe He could hear me in Spanish. And I felt He never answered my prayer. And it was from that point as a child that there was a disconnect from a power greater than myself. I was on my own. But looking about emotional sobriety and what the 12 steps have done for me is that God has answered my prayers. But it's through the 12 steps. I thought it's about talking pretty and looking good in meetings and doing all the external. But AA and the 12 steps have led me into the 12 steps. Because the miracle of sobriety is not only about not drinking, it's about a spiritual experience. And through all my brokenness and my failures as I was drinking, but also in sobriety, is that I realized in step 2, I love this saying, first there was the fall, second there was the recovery from the fall, and both are the mercy of God. And by me getting over the God debate, because I like to debate, but sometimes I wanted the God debate or I'm not perfect because I don't want to take responsibilities. How's your steps, Lawrence? Are you meeting with your sponsor? We don't do this just for popularity. We do it for transformation. And what the steps do for me is, like I like to say, out of observation, there's transformation. And the 12 steps is the best medicine I've ever taken for somebody who came into AA with 2 trash bags full of clothes to see how a program could really impact one's life. But I always my idea of success was sex, status, and security. If I have that, I'm taken care of. Matter of fact, when I was in the state hospital, I'm thinking easier, softer way. I'm a year sober. I flunked AA. I didn't drink, but I'm locked up. And I'm thinking, man, I get meals, a roof over my head. They dress me. There's dentists, doctors. I said, all I need is a girlfriend in here and I'm set. Easier, softer way. But sobriety, I see too about the external things that I chase. And there's 4 things that drive me crazy, and that's relationships, work, money, and health. And they drive me, those external things that I think I need in order to be okay. And I always say, why do I seek a material solution for a spiritual problem? And I'm going to chase it. And I'm going to lie about it. I'm going to talk about it because I don't want you to know who I am and what's inside me. But learning through the steps, the conscious contact with the power greater than myself. What is conscious contact? And it's a beautiful experience. It's an intimate experience that has changed my life. Not to say that I'm better than or less than. It's just the fact that this works. Emotional sobriety also is learning to walk through the pain and walk through challenging times in one's life. That sometimes if I made the mistake that I need to take responsibility, and I'm going through something really bad, and that I utilize the steps in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous to help me walk through those pains. Because I don't want to talk about this stuff. I'm more external than internal. But I'm learning not only to face my demons that I thought they were, but I'm learning to face my fears. And I love the steps because the more and more that I go, it gets more and more deeper inside to my true self, to the soul. And that sobriety is much bigger than just not drinking. Sometimes with my selfishness and self-centeredness, I see that we live in a country that we're free, and we also have spiritual freedom. But sometimes I use that freedom to take my own freedom away. due to my selfishness and self-centered. And I have found that a relationship with my higher power, whom I choose to call God, is everything. God is or He isn't. He is everything or He is nothing. And let me tell you, in Alcoholics Anonymous, we are so liberal with our own conceptual of God, and thank God that is. But I don't need to apologize for believing in God either. It works both ways. And let me tell you, I'm a believer. Some of the hard things to say for an alcoholic, and this has been my salvation. We talk about surrender, but there's 3 things that I say that helps me when I'm down and out. The first one, which is hard for alcoholics, is I don't know. The second one is I'm scared. And the third one is I need help. Hopefully by the grace of God, I think I'll make it. Tomorrow I'll be celebrating 24 years of continuous sobriety. And what a place to come and celebrate. I had a long-timer tell me one time, I go through the steps on a yearly basis, and I, over the last 23 years, do an inventory once a year, and I've just found it to be very helpful. But I heard this long-timer say, he said, Lawrence, spirituality is more than just words. Spirituality is experiencing the presence of a higher power in your life. And when I'm in my morning prayer and meditation and I have that connection, there's something special that happens. That not only do I get sober or stay sober, it's my medicine for the healing in that brokenness. And that reminder that God said, you may have thought I didn't answer your prayers back then, but I've always answered your prayers and I'm right here with you. And to know the darkness of being alone, but today to know that I'm not alone and my higher power is present with me. And when I get crazy and they're going to send me, I think I'm going crazy, I have all of you to reach out and to know that I'm not alone. There's some work that I do around the 4-step solution to divine intimacy. And these are just some basics for the newcomer. Is one, I like to read my daily reflections in the morning and some scripture. That's one. 2, I like to just think about what I'm reading. What did I just read? What is the message today? Number 3, then I pray. And then 4, I get to go into meditation. And I love this about this teaching because it's teaching me that in my meditation I get to rest in the presence of God. In that morning, and that when I take that time, that something happens. Because life is about relationships. And I screwed up drunk and sober. But life is about relationships. And as Chicago Phil says about his emotional sobriety and why we do what we do is my relationship with God, other people, and myself. And when I'm hurting and I'm confused, it's not just about, because I want to sometimes use AA and not take, and I'm not perfect, not to bypass responsibility of my own spiritual growth and my own emotional sobriety. Because I love drama. I love that emotional cesspool inside, You get that feeling? I'm addicted to it. If I can't find it, I'll create it. I'm not only an alcoholic, I'm addicted to drama. Don't you know who I am? The pain and dealing with the pain of life on life's terms is that I'm finding that through the healing process and through my taking my medicines through the steps, it's about healing. And I love this saying that it rings true to me in my heart. And that is pain transformed through the 12 steps is no longer pain transmitted. I am no saint, by no means. You know, the point is that I'm willing to grow along spiritual lines. We have a set of principles called the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it teaches me to accept my spirituality of imperfection. And what a gift to be sober. I used to say perhaps, but today I'm living the life God intended me to live. And not that I'm better than or less than, but it's what's in me. My emotional sobriety, mind, body, and spirit, warts and all. But I'm learning through AA to continue to suit up and show up. And as when I'm having a good experience with you, I'm also having a good experience within. And that's all I've ever wanted in life. I remember being locked up. They said, "What do you want, Lawrence?" And I remember crying. All I want to do is be happy. And I found happiness, joy, and freedom in Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you.